Introduction. It's 2 a.m. and you're lying in bed wide awake. You pretend to be asleep as the man with his back to you softly snores. Just a few hours ago, you were in the throes of rapture in this man's arms, receiving every ounce of his body and connecting in ways for which there are no words. Now you are equally as uneasy and anxious as you were earlier enraptured. The wrestling between what your heart feels and what your head tells you is confusing, draining, and anxiety-provoking. You can hardly close your eyes without recalling the smallest details of the previous week, month, or year with this man. How you've subtly pushed him, pursued him, or hinted for him to tell you how he feels and what he wants, only later to pull back and try to distance yourself and appear aloof. Replaying the movie in your mind of your many advances and retreats haunts and torments you. While the man in deep sleep beside you doesn't give anything of himself, he always returns. His resistance is just fear, you think, as he is a good man and has shown you moments and glimpses of an ability to care about you and love you. He's there in body, so you believe he must be there in spirit, or he would have left. Will he become your husband? Or even boyfriend? Or is tonight the last time you will see him? You and your guy are enjoying yet another weekend of bliss. Friday night was a movie and lots of easy conversation, fun, cuddling, and great sex. On Saturday, you woke up late, went to the gym together, and then he helped you shop for groceries and prepare a nice meal complete with wine and music. You talk about anything and everything. You feel that you're really connecting. You love being with him and developing this relationship. A few hours out with your friends watching the game on Saturday night leads to sleeping late on Sunday morning, lounging, more sex, and the Sunday Times with lattes. When he leaves that afternoon or evening, there is the usual, "I'll talk to you soon," with lots of kissing and holding each other at the door. 3 days later, you still haven't gotten so much as a text. Your boyfriend of 3 years is deemed a catch by all who know him. He's fun, funny, smart, and industrious. When you look around at your friends, you can't believe how lucky you are to have such a committed and monogamous man by your side. He talks of the future and paints verbal pictures of how your life together might look one day. He professes his love, and on each special occasion you secretly hope to be getting a ring, yet it never comes. You try hard to make things good for him and prove yourself to be wife and mother material. You're beginning to think there is something about you that he questions for the long term. You're sick of waiting and your clock is ticking. When is he going to see that you two are meant to be husband and wife? From the moment you met your man, you knew there was something different about him. He pursued you respectfully and has always made you feel special and wanted. You've never questioned his feelings, and things have always been easy, albeit a bit boring at times, as you have never felt that burning desire that other men have made you feel. You broke up briefly when a new hottie at work sparked the flame in you again. But when you realized how stupid you had been and begged Mr. Right for forgiveness, he took you back. Since then, you've devoted yourself to this great guy and have felt closer and more interested in him than ever. You thought everything was back to the way it was. But it's been a year, and Mr. Right hasn't popped the question. He is still wonderful, but he is beginning to show signs of distancing himself. You're afraid that you've ruined your chances at the one relationship that could have been forever. Why won't he commit? Mirror, mirror. Do you recognize yourself in any of these scenarios? Depending on your love life, you may actually have experienced all 4 of them in one way or another. If so, you are not needy, damaged, or in any way anything other than the beautiful female that you were born to be. What you've experienced with men, or perhaps are experiencing currently, is as normal and natural as the sun rising in the east and setting in the west. The birds and the bees, night and day, sun and rain, yin and yang, or male and female. You'll notice in this list of opposites that good and bad are not in the group. This is because men being men and women being women is not good or bad. It just is. Understanding nature helps us nurture. Knowing and accepting that there are fundamental biological and anthropological reasons that men view things more in black and white rather than the contextual gray in which women tend to see things can help lessen your frustrations and allow you to do what you, as a woman, are uniquely equipped to do. Understand, have patience for, and lovingly attend to the differences in people and living things. Science has been able to address the debate over nature versus nurture and is now able to show us through neurobrain imaging that nature is the full sundae of our experience and nurture, or what we think of as socialization, is merely the cherry on top. New research is confirming what humans have known since they developed higher thinking. There are slight differences in how the male and female brain are wired to behave and relate to their environment and other living beings. These slight differences, however, are akin to being from different planets. Perhaps planets as different and as far apart as Mars and Venus. The brain differences of men and women help account for the interconnected ways in which females are able to view people, problems, and emotional issues, and why males tend to look at things in more confined and linear ways. The way the male brain is wired is why it is largely a waste of time to try to get a man to view or understand emotional things in the same way that you do. Males show stronger front-to-back wiring within each hemisphere of the brain, accounting for their greater spatial skills, motor coordination, and ability to visualize three-dimensional objects from various angles. Think Mr. Mechanic. Mike Mechanic is all about connecting parts and wires in order to problem solve and get your car running. He is not apt to want to hear your tale of woe about your highway mishap and missing a big interview, although Mike might stand there and listen with a bit of a blank stare while you cry for a moment and recount the terror of losing all power while doing 75 miles per hour in the left lane. He's not likely to sit down with you or offer tissues and words of understanding. He is most interested in getting information so that he can set about problem solving and fixing your car. This is his job. But which comes first? The fact that he is a mechanic, so he is more interested in how parts of a car fit together than attending to your feelings? Or that he is a man and his brain wiring is very well suited for his job as a mechanic as opposed to a grief counselor? Likely a bit of both. The yous have it. Women have a slightly larger and fattier corpus callosum, the band of tissue that sits atop the brain and connects the two hemispheres. This allows for the two hemispheres of the female brain to speak to each other in a way that male brains don't as readily or as easily. Think Mrs. Mom. Margie Mom has to problem solve in all manner of both tangible and emotional ways. Margie attends to the gash in her kid's knee while simultaneously getting his bike out of the road and stopping her other kids from stepping out in traffic. What she also does so well and so easily is assuage the fear all the children feel when their brother almost veers into oncoming traffic. Rams aren't necessarily dodging. Remembering that a man's ability to process and assess emotions is somewhat slower for some men and seemingly non-existent for others will not only allow you to be more patient, but will eventually allow you to fully embrace men in a way that you may have been fighting. While your situation will vary according to the uniqueness of your own brain, and the brain of any man you're attempting to understand and communicate with, knowing what you are about to discover in the chapters that follow will help you more than anything else. Men are wired to love, commit, and bond differently than women. Despite their protests and aversion to drama, men actually love what is different about women and find the deep emotions of women to be alluring, attractive, and enticing. This doesn't mean men will understand or even care to attempt to understand women, as understanding and connecting to differences is not inherently male. Therefore, it's incumbent upon women, with their enhanced ability to understand and connect to others, to communicate and relate to men in ways that provide the best outcomes and chance of success in romantic relationships. Tarzan and Jane, not Jane and Jane. While we might wish men were emotionally more like us than different, would we really want that wish to come true? Likely not. It is in the differences between the sexes that we experience that special spark of chemistry, sexual attraction, and romantic love. Though not easy to navigate, it does make life passionate and fascinating, albeit at times heartbreaking, if not profoundly frustrating. Yet, without clouds, the rays of the sun would not feel as delightful as they do when they break through and warm us. Without night, there is no day. While things might be easier at times, they would not be as exciting and wondrous without men. And let's face it, traversing the jungle with their linear brains and muscles makes swinging on the vine of life more fun and many times a heck of a lot easier. My learning curveballs. Perhaps there are women born with an innate knowledge and understanding of men, but it is my belief that they are a very fortunate few. Women born before the sexual revolution and women's movement were forced to adhere to socially accepted norms and behaviors which catered to men's natural need to be challenged, compete, and achieve that which they deemed worth achieving. As women began attaining political, social, educational, and professional equality to some degree, they did not naturally fare as well when it came to attaining committed relationships. As a young girl, I erroneously believed that men and women were as equal in their relationships, the ways they loved, and in their needs and desires. Not having brothers and being more than a little sheltered and naive, at barely 17 years old, I left my small-town home for the very big city of New York. Thrust into adult city life, I found the world of men to be confusing at best, and at worst, almost entirely unforgiving and unyielding to female needs beyond the sexual. Being exceedingly independent and fairly adventurous, I placed myself on an equal footing with men and did not account for the inherently different ways in which men and women love, attach, commit, and bond. While smart and savvy in many arenas of life, in the circus of love and relationships, I was the clown. Fast forward several decades, and I am quite grateful to be out from under the big top and no longer walking in big floppy shoes, donning a bright red nose. I did my time getting pies in my face and feeling like I earned a PhD in love from Clown College. My experiences with men was at times a three-ring circus. From short and tall, light and dark, outgoing and introverted, nerdy and artistic, weak-willed and strong-willed, narcissistic and humble, handsome and average, all who crossed my winding romantic path taught me about the minds and hearts of males. No textbook, courses, early training, or role modeling could ever have equaled the learning I received through my experiences. Despite the pain and heartache, I'm grateful for all the good and not-so-good men in my life. From those who had no investment in me for more than the moment, to the few who did, and to the one I was smart enough to return the formal commitment he was ready, willing, and able to give. Alas, the universal circus of love and romance has provided me with a diverse education and wealth of experience. If not for all the joys, triumphs, confusion, and suffering, I would lack the knowledge I possess in the way I possess it, as well as the ability to understand the unique relationship situations and myriad circumstances my clients face in their romantic lives. I continue to give thanks for the men in my life, both past and present, as each one has contributed to this book in some form and has afforded me the opportunity to formally help and support the most giving creatures and caretakers of the world, women. The way in which women share their individual and collective experiences, giving of themselves to help their fellow sisters, is unparalleled in the male world, and I am happy to be part of that sisterhood. Don't join the club, but do support the members. We've all heard the adage, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em. No need to worry. What you are about to listen to will not have you suddenly craving a cigar, wanting to get under the hood of a car for hours, or gambling on fantasy football. It also won't solve all your problems with the day-to-day annoyances of men not hearing you, understanding you, or attending to your needs in the myriad ways you attend to theirs. What this book will do is give you valuable insights and allow you to begin to see men more objectively. It will provide you with several concepts and principles explaining how men communicate, view women, love them, commit, and bond. It will also provide you with information to find out where your man is on the scale of being ready, willing, and able to commit. By listening to this book, you will begin to accept men as male and different, not wrong, bad, or unfeeling. Most importantly, the content of Why Won't He Commit will empower you to know and feel how much you are loved by men just for being female, and that you are truly desired for more than just your body. Whether you are big or small, short or tall, young or old, slim or ample, blonde or brunette, prim or goth, dark or light, you are actually adored and loved by almost all men in one form or another almost all of the time. You will also begin to understand that male love will never be quite like your more magnanimous female love. By accepting and incorporating the information in this book, you can finally let go of the expectation that men will love in the same fashion or degree as women. You will start to free yourself to live the fullest and happiest romantic life possible. If you're listening to this book because you've been disappointed, hurt, confused, and are angered by a man's inability to commit to you, despite years of devotion, love, and complete and utter commitment, the puppy principle in Chapter 3 will explain why this has happened to you and why it happens to women around the world, no matter their age, beauty, height, race, religion, education, wealth, or sophistication. The puppy principle will help you to step into the hearts and minds of men through an experience you currently have or have had yourself. By grasping this principle, you will be able to feel what a man feels and understand what causes a man to forgo great sex, a wonderful partner, a best friend, and a fabulous relationship, and not commit, even when he feels love for a woman. The consumer versus buyer relationship concept in Chapter 4 presents the two states of being that are inherent in adult men and determine when, why, and if a man will commit. In this section, the determining factors in each state are outlined, and the needs every man must satisfactorily meet in order to be able to commit are clearly defined. It is here that you will come to understand that a man's capability and readiness to commit come from inside him and are only partially impacted by his love for a particular woman. pacing yourself. When coaching my clients, I find myself reminding them to think marathon and not sprint, meaning that they have to have patience with their own emotions and have patience with men being slow to trust that their emotions are more than sexual or fleeting. While initially showing infatuation, men cannot be expected to connect to a relationship in the same way women do. The puppy principle will illustrate why a man is so readily affectionate and why he can show intense levels of interest initially and in the moment, only to be easily distracted by another woman the next. Male and female time frames are very different in terms of relationships and sex. Therefore, rushing any dating experience into a relationship will decrease a man's interest. Fast-tracking any relationship, no matter the chemistry, passion, or how interested a man appears, takes away the most important factor that allows him to completely fall in love. The act of continually having to prove himself worthy and capable of achieving your time, attention, and affection. I often remind my clients to think sports, because for a man, no trophy or pennant that is easily won is as prized or valued as when it is a real challenge to attain. For now, let's focus on what you have come here to learn, understanding how, why, and under what conditions a man will be ready, able, and most of all, willing to commit.